Okay, welcome to Center 1, Take a Look at Minerals. In this center, you're going to introduce the students to how scientists identify minerals. And so the first thing you might want to talk about a little bit is just talk about what rocks and minerals are. And you could use some of the handouts in here when you start talking to them about how you might identify minerals. This handout has examples of what they're going to be looking for, not actually testing in this center, we're just looking. So you can go on to talk about that everything that is not living or made from living things is of mineral origin. And there'll be a rocks and minerals uses page in here, and it talks about how life is dependent on minerals, and you could mention some of the interesting facts about how much of certain minerals people use. For instance, in their lifetime, people will use 28,000 pounds of salt. And there are some other interesting facts on that handout, which does not appear to be here at this moment, but it will be. Then you can move on to talking about how we identify each other, and that's a good base analogy for heading into how rocks are identified. You would talk about, how do you know it's your mom when she picks you up? Well, the color of her hair, or the color of her eyes, her height. How do you know that your pet is your pet? And you can go through specific characteristics and have the kids brainstorm. You don't want to spend a lot of time on that because you want to have enough time to get to the samples. You want to explain that the scientists use similar methods to identify rocks and minerals that we use to identify each other and animals and plants and things like that. So then you're going to move on to identifying or talking about the characteristics that that scientists use to identify minerals. And so maybe you want to have the kids brainstorm that, like what would you, as you pull out these samples, and so there's a list on your outline that talks about that we use color, hardness, streak, luster, cleavage or fracture, how a mineral breaks along planes, the tenacity, how flexible it is, and then how the crystals form together or how they twine, and then the actual crystal shape. Those are a lot of properties to get through, so with the younger kids, you might stick to some of the simpler ones like color and hardness and streak and luster. These are great samples to have the kids get out a hand lens and just really examine and spend time looking at what's in here. There's a sample of pyrite, a sample of galena, a sample of mica for as long as it lasts. But all these samples in here are borrowed from the Carlisle School of Mines Geology Museum, so we need to be really careful about getting them back into their containers, about taking good care of them. None of the ones in Center 1 should be tested at all. You should look at them, you should heft them to see how heavy they are. Some are going to be, that'll help give you identifying characteristics.
Is that talc in there?
I think this might be talc.
So it's soft.
So it would be, yeah, it would be soft. And talking about the color, the different colors, how it reflects light. This is an example of galena, and it's very reflective.
I don't know if you saw that little number on there, people. Make sure the kids don't pick those off of there.
Right. Yeah, no, the School of Mines has been very kind to lend us all these, so we need to be really careful with them. Also included in the center is a collection of Mohs hardness scale. Mohs hardness scale helps us figure out, is a baseline for how hard minerals are. And it's based on whether or not they can scratch, what kind of mark they leave in the glass. What kind of you can show this to them. You can go ahead and have them see which ones scratch glass and which ones don't.
But the parent volunteer should do the scratching, right?
Right, absolutely. So there's that. And then, for the finale, we have Colorado minerals and minerals from China. And these are not to be touched. You can pick them up in the box, in the whole box, and the kids can look at them with a hand lens, but they should not be touching, scratching, poking, picking, etc. So, you want to just then go and then to summarize it all, you just want to make sure the kids walk away understanding that in geology and in the study of rocks, there are specific characteristics that we use to identify rocks and minerals, and it's really important so that we can figure out what their uses are and what their history is.
So rocks are made of minerals, and we learn to identify the rocks by the minerals in them.
Right.
Okay. Now, Emmy, I noticed there's 3 of these little blue containers. So will the kids want to pair off?
The kids will want to pair off and share a container and just explore it and spend some time just with the hand lens, with their own sense of touch. You can even smell them. You could, I wouldn't taste them.
No tasting.
But again, you know, if you heft them, the pyrite is definitely going to be a lot heavier than number 6 here, which I don't remember.
I think it's hematite?
Hematite, thank you, yeah. I knew it started with the H.
Yeah.
And that's an important, you know, that's how you can start to understand the history of a rock as well, which we'll discuss in another sense or two. But all these things, using your senses to help identify the minerals or the rocks, then you can figure out what minerals are in them. So, I think that's about it for summer 1.
Yay. Oh, there's some books in there too, people.
Yep.
As if you'll have time for them.
Yeah.
Thank you.